Hey, and thank you so much for joining us on the Mindset Conversations for Men podcast. Today, my guest is Pablo Alvarado. We had an amazing conversation about head trash, how it affects us as men, and how our mindset can change so we can actually use that noise to help us create clarity. You know, it's intriguing, like we were talking about the amount that our body can heal when we're feeding it the right information. And so, when thinking about head trash or what I call noise, right? Noise
Yeah.
gets in the way of clarity.
Yep.
Small things that I've been paying attention to, like extremely deeply when I'm going for walks, when I'm driving home, when I'm with my children, when I'm getting ready for bed. I was literally telling myself, oh, your hip hurts. Oh, your ankle still isn't right. Oh, maybe your neck, oh, does your trap hurt a little bit? And what small things.
Connecting those dots.
Yes. Instead of
It's
going,
huge.
I'm super healthy. Wow, look at how healthy I am at my age. Wow, I feel so good today.
Yeah.
That little, right? Those are the little aspects of head trash that they almost fill up the background and are hard to be able to notice.
Bring a very interesting point because head trash doesn't have to be negative words. Head trash can also be, as you well put it, look at me, how healthy I am, and how this and how that, all trying to elevate your own feelings. But if you're lying to yourself, that's also head trash.
100%. How have you experienced that?
I've experienced that with in my own business growth. Even, this was really, really present until probably about 5, 6 years ago, where I actually believed that I was more ahead than I was in business. And I was also portraying that image out there. So not only was I lying to myself, but I was lying to everyone around me. And I mean, that's toxic.
And what's
That's really
intriguing,
toxic.
what's intriguing about that is, I'm sure, because it's you were able to see it, and then seeing though why it was there and
Yeah.
what you were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because usually there's a fear or there's a lack, a lack of like, well, I'm not this or I'm not that, so I have to portray this. Is that what you experienced?
Yeah, in my upbringing, both my parents, they had very limiting mindsets. So much potential, but very limiting mindset. And now my parents accomplished some really good things in their lives, but financially there was a huge gap. And if you measure the efforts, the years that they worked, and what they accumulated at the end, there was a big gap.
Okay.
And growing up, everything, no, we can't have that because it's too expensive. No, we're not doing this, we're not doing that because we're gonna, we need to save. Instead of saying, you know what, why don't we save for it? Why don't we see if we can find a way to make more money so that we can have that? That's a totally different mindset.
That is.
And I grew up with that, and subconsciously, it took me years, I mean, well into my 40s for me to realize, or actually well into my 30s and 40s for me to realize that I also suffer from that. And even today, I catch myself doing that, although I'm using it for legitimate reasons.
Nice.
And after I graduated high school, I had a good career at the bank. I was with the bank, and got to a point where I was working with the uber wealthy, some of the wealthiest clients that you can work with. And I made a decent salary, and but I had to portray that image. And that place at the bank gave me the uh, it gave me the space for me to let all my insecurities,
Yep.
at least hide them,
Correct.
so that I could play somebody else. It gave me it was like a movie set that gave me an opportunity to be somebody I was not, that I wanted to be, but I wasn't there yet.
And the subconscious, right, was running the show at that point.
Yeah.
Because it was giving you these things that you were programmed
Yeah.
to believe.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pull them
Yeah.
to the surface.
Yeah, yeah. And it took me years to realize that. And actually, it was my now wife, when we were dating, she went through a program that, the premise was to help you clear all that baggage
Nice.
that you had been carrying all your life. If you did the work.
That's the key.
If you did the work.
Ah, man.
And I'll never forget, we were in New York City, and we went to a Yankees playoff game, and they were playing the Tigers, Detroit Tigers, and we were in the hotel, and she was explaining this to me, and the reason that she was explaining this to me is because she had noticed some behaviors, especially how I reacted to conflict. And again, the only example of reacting to conflict that I had was either the passive aggressive and sometimes very aggressive tone of voice, because that's all I knew.
Yep.
It was either, if you piss me off, I was either going to go off on you, or I was just going to give you the silent treatment, because the silent treatment was going to hurt you and kill you.
Yep.
And it was going to have you come back to me, crawl back to me, and ask for forgiveness for whatever it is that you did, for crossing me. And that was the mindset. And so she mentioned this place to me, and I remember on the way back from New York, we were sitting together. We rode one of those $15 bus rides to New York. And we took the very last one out of New York. And I remember telling her, I'm going to do it. I hadn't looked at anything online. I hadn't done anything. Because at that point, I knew I needed to do something different. I needed to change the course of my life. And I had to start somewhere.
That's how I think that head trash actually can work for us if
Yeah.
we're open to having awareness towards
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think we get stuck in a mind frame, especially as men, that we have to put on this persona that we have everything figured out and that we are super wealthy and accomplished.
Yeah.
But I think it really fucks us over.
Oh, yeah.
Because it doesn't allow us to take a look at ourselves. And then when we're presented opportunities to reflect on the head trash or that noise that gets in the way of clarity,
Yeah.
we just brush them off.
Yeah.
I don't need that. So kudos to you for actually having the strength, right? And I think that's true strength as a man.
Yeah.
To go, wow, that's very valid. Maybe I need to look into this.
Yeah.
And then maybe I need to do the work.
And the work is not over. I mean, it goes on, it goes on, it goes on, and there are some things that are so embedded in our subconscious. And you talked about rewiring. You talked about learning how to rewire your whole nervous system.
Yep.
And we've also talked about some of the struggles that we continue to have in our own personal lives with our family members,
Yep.
with those close to us, where I don't know, at least for me, when there is some conflict, just the fact that I'm being confined, I'm in the confinement of my safe space at home. Sometimes I feel, I don't know if this happens to you, like, I'm the king of the castle. However, therefore, I'm entitled to say whatever I want and do whatever I can,
And
because
fall on old patterns.
And the work is not easy, but it's worth it.
It is. And I think that especially at home, is where we can really see ourselves fully.
Yeah.
Like I'm the quietest now than I've ever been in my whole life in my home. I watch more with my children than I talk. Because the patterns, like you said, they're so deeply ingrained.
Yeah.
But I know sometimes what is going to come out of my mouth is not healthy for them.
No.
It's not. And because the reactions that I was always given were anger or manipulation.
Yep.
In some way. And so I literally, you know this, like I pay so much attention to my tone to the point where I know if I can't control my tone in that moment, I don't say anything. And the kids pick up on it now. They're way more emotionally evolved than I ever was at their age.
Yeah.
And so they'll watch me and, why aren't you saying anything? I'm like, damn it. I don't have anything correct to say right now.
Yeah.
Come on, Dad, just what, come on, what is, I'll come back to you later.
Yeah.
You know, but I find it really intriguing that we as men were programmed to dominate situations, but the best thing we can do sometimes is watch situations.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I come from a culture that, and you do as well, where, you know, the machismo, that's what shapes a man according to that culture.
Yep.
You being sensitive to other human beings' feelings is not.
Correct.
And it's discouraged, and you get called every name in the book.
100%.
So it's very difficult to make progress in that environment, or at least with that mindset. And I've gotten to the point where I don't care how sensitive people think I am, or how much sensitivity, positive sensitivity, because there's also negative sensitivity. I don't care what people have to say about that.
Correct.
Especially, you know, a lot of insecure males, they tend to go with the insults and the poking fun at you, the negative criticism of you, because it's easier for them to do that and hide
100%.
instead of validating you.
Or
saying-
facing themselves.
Or facing themselves. And that, you bring another point. I mean, there were times that in my life that I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I didn't like it.
I agree.
I did not like it, and I saw, not to use sports analogies here, but I saw Coach Bill Parcells. I think the show on the NFL Network is called Football Life, and he's written about this. I think he has either a poem, I don't know if it's a poem or a book, but it's about the man in the mirror. You have won at life if you can look at the man in the mirror and smile.
Seriously, there was so many times when I was trying to, and this is the thing that nobody talks about in changing our mindset and dealing with head trash as a man. It's hard fucking work. It isn't just this like, oh, one day I feel 10 times better. It is a consistent effort to uproot really deep shit.
It's like losing weight. There is no pill for it. There's no pill for it.
And it's enough work to then, and I can remember over and over again, fucking feeling like I make progress and just falling back down into a hole. And then the next morning look at myself going, fuck, why you do this again?
Yeah.
And then eventually, right, I feel like when we take consistent effort to try to change what's in our mind, we get better and better and more comfortable at it. So then one day I was able to look at myself and go, hey, I love you, and I care about you.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with the man that you are, despite it all.
Yep.
You know? Because it's never going to go away, all those things.
It's how you handle them. You know, you can change, you can't change the past.
Correct.
You know, you can't change the experiences of the past, but you can certainly do something about changing what's ahead of you. I can't remember, this is probably about 7 years ago, and my wife's family, we all got into a deep conversation, and my wife's brother said, I'm not perfect, but I do my best to not say anything at home that I couldn't say in public comfortably.
Ooh, ooh, that's a good one.
And that stuck with me.
Yeah.
I don't remember the topic. I don't remember what caused the conversation, but I do remember that specific set of words that he used.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about that, I grew up in in an environment where everything was criticism of others,
Mm-hmm.
and it was negative criticism, and it could be something benign.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that person's outfit.
Yep.
It looks horrible on them. Those people, don't they have a little bit of class?
Right.
At least iron your clothes.
Right.
And it was easy to. I mean, that just comes natural in that environment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so ingrained in our society
It is.
that it's just, we don't know what that person's dealing with.
Not at all. And the judgment I have
Yeah.
found is a reflection of self-judgment.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so easy for us to judge, because we're constantly judging ourselves.
Yeah.
And right now you make a great point in society. We're literally being programmed as men to do more, to have more, to be more, to go after bigger things, not out of self-love or out of giving to others and creating a better world, but out of filling some hole inside of us.
Yeah.
And I think that programming, along with our programming from our past, just creates such noise and head trash that I've seen it debilitate men.
Yeah. It can be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been close to that in the past. The courses and that I told you about earlier that my now wife
Mm-hmm.
pointed out to me. I did went through the courses, and that was one of the first times that I remember saying, if I'm going to do this, I got to do this right.
Mm.
And part of that is calling people in your life that you needed to come clean with or express something that may not be pleasant for them.
Mm-hmm.
I even had to do it with my now wife, with my girlfriend, who's my wife now.
Mm-hmm.
There were some things that I had been hiding from her that I had to call and tell her, or I told her, I think, the last day of the course, because I was finding ways to not confront the things that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
That whether she would ever find out or not,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was her or anybody else, this was part of the work. You had to do it because, the truth will set you free.
Correct.
And so I had to do that. I remember calling my dad and I said, Dad, I got to tell you something. I said, for a lot of years I've been resenting you.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of resentment. And then I bullet point all the things that led to that resentment. And to my surprise, he listened to it,
Mm.
and he apologized for that. One of my best buddies and I, there were some things that I had done to him that he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I called him up, and it opened up a whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Opened up a whole can of worm that we had to empty all the worms out of it.
Correct.
And called my own mother. I said, hey, listen, I realize now in my life why I feel, insecure about certain things, relationship with people, especially with women, because, I've always felt abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
so that opened up a whole other conversation as to, why she had done certain things that she had done. And there was a whole other side to that story that I had no idea that what she was feeling.
Correct.
There's more to it than meets the eye. Again, it comes with judging other people. We don't know who they are, what they've been through, what their perspectives are, what their struggles are. And so...
But there's facing the head trash like you did. There's power in it. And that's where I think the head trash, if we know how to objectively look at it, it gives us power. Because I had to do the same thing with my mom to the point where I hold no grudges. I have no grudges. You know how freeing that is?
Oh,
After
it's awesome.
fucking 40, 35 years, and to not feel like you did this to me and you did that. I don't even know what that weight feels like. And that's all I knew.
Yeah, this journey allowed me to, before my mother passed away, we had some conversations, some really come to Jesus conversations about things that I have done, things that I thought she had done to me. And I remember telling her the night, and this wasn't the first time that we had conversations in these terms, but a couple days before she left to Nicaragua, right before COVID, which was 6 weeks before she passed away.
Okay.
I remember I was sitting on her bed, she was sitting on her chair where she watched TV. She was hooked to an oxygen tank. But she was still very aware, very conscious, very, she was still directing certain things that she wanted. She was still very much with us, and I said to her, is there anything that needs to be said? Is there anything left unsaid between you and I? And he said, no, there's nothing. And the last time I talked to her was probably hours before she passed, probably 12 hours before she passed. And to this day, it sucks losing your mom, especially she was 70. That was way too young. But I really, there's this fulfilling feeling in my heart that, there was nothing left unsaid. There was nothing that didn't get resolved.
And without you facing that head trash, that noise,
who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And that's the beauty of the work that you did, though. So I want to
oh, thank you.
Say that's amazing that you've done that.
Well, it also allowed her to say her piece, to say whatever it is that she needed to say, and let me know, even though, I was going through periods of distress, it was never my intention to abandon you. And so it's also, as unpleasant as it may be for you to face a head trash and tell people, hey, listen, whatever it is, whether it's an apology or asking for forgiveness for something that you did to them, it also allows that other person, it creates a space in which the other person can really feel validated. All right, okay, that was great, thank you.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I think it also, great, because that's one side of it. The other side of it's healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
I think when we listen to that noise in our minds that are saying like, hey, this person just did this, I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah.
We might need to have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And I think, this is something you and I have talked about, is like working on our tone, working on our communication allows us to take that noise, that head trash, understand our own healthy boundaries, and then share them with others to open a conversation and not just shut down a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. The shutting down a relationship or shutting down the conversation, that to me, based on my own experiences, I look back and I said, how cowardly of me, or how ugly of me to really take somebody's power away, and be so rude, and be so rude, and not give that person the respect and dignity that they deserve.
But we weren't given the tools.
Yeah.
We literally were not taught how to communicate.
Yeah.
You know, like we were taught how to dominate.
Right.
That's what we were taught was the thing to do. And so it was like a complete reworking of our minds and our nervous system, because it's a visceral feeling. I can still to this day watch it come into my nervous system and my stomach to start to knot and my chest to expand. When somebody says something that doesn't sit right with me, and me having to literally stop. No, I'm not choosing this right now. I'm going to listen, and then I'm going to ask a question.
It's funny how you describe that to a T. The feeling on your stomach, the chest expanding, and your fists.
Yep. To the point where I walk around now, where I'm watching people's body language everywhere I go. I walk with my hands behind my back, just like this, very calmly. I bend my knees a little bit, and I tuck my chin slightly. And then I watch. And I watch what their body language does when I do that. And I've literally watched people open up, just because I'm not in any way trying to dominate.
Yep.
I'm literally creating an open space for them. Because you know it, I mean, the beauty and the curse of us is we can automatically shift into that dominating posture.
Yeah.
And then we look a certain way, and then our face goes a certain way. But that's also the awareness behind that. We can use that to then make ourselves appear more open, and then help others share or feel comfortable or feel like they have their own space around us.
Yeah. Yeah, the body language, man. I through videos, I mean, I like watching videos of all sorts. I mean, I have YouTube Premium, and I love the no ads.
Nice.
And I watch podcasts, and sometimes, you know, my guilty pleasure is to watch funny videos and
cats get me.
Whatever. Yeah, cats.
Cats. I don't know what it is about cats.
No, they don't do anything for me,
every
but
time, man.
Watches do it for me.
Okay.
Watches, you know, people taking apart watches and putting them back together. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
It's how you. I mean, if I was to take a
That's pretty
watch
cool.
apart and try to put it back, there's no way.
Every time I'm like posting on social media, because I have this thing, create, don't consume.
Yeah.
So every time I'll be posting it, and then a cat video will pop up, and a cat will do something silly, and I'll just start. I'll be in here just busting out laughing.
Yeah.
People walk by looking at me strange, and I'm like, cats got me again.
Yeah, and I don't know where I was going with that, but you know, I like to watch videos, but
the posture,
the posture,
and communication.
There was a video of I think it was a former FBI or former law enforcement, and giving just anybody that comes in contact, you could come in contact with law enforcement for any reason at any moment, especially in a traffic stop, where if you're somewhere and you feel that the officer is maybe being a little more aggressive than you would want it to be, instead of raising your voice, they're talking about that. Lower your tone, lower your posture. And at some point, I think one of them said, you know, even put your hands together like this, where they can see your hands and they can see that you're not doing anything to indicate that you're being aggressive. And thinking about that could be with anyone. I mean, and you just said it right there.
So I went to this documentary premiere. Shout out Dr. Johns. He's doing amazing work. And in it, he got into the actual data of how we interact as human beings. The heart puts out an electromagnetic field that's over 4 feet around us.
Oh, wow.
And they've proven through quantum entanglement
Wow.
that if you change your actual disposition, your body language, you're a calming person, that gets to the other person around you and you can change how they are. It boggled my mind, man. And this guy, like, he has all of the scientific data to back up how quantum physics and neuroscience shows this with the data.
That's amazing.
Isn't it? And so it's like, I think when we're empowered with that information, it helps us take what's in here, calm it down, make it work for us, and then enter into situations. Because if I'm brutally honest, right, I want to control situations. I want to always be the calm in the storm. I want to be able to walk into any room, good or bad, and be in control. Because I know if I can control in here, I can control out here.
Sure.
Not to manipulate others,
No.
but to create space for others.
Yeah.
And so that control that happens in here, right? I think that's a superpower that we can cultivate, but it takes a lot of work.
Takes a lot of patience, takes a lot of fortitude. I mean, I've been in situations where I've had, a guy in front of me just being, aggressive, and all I want to do is punch him in the mouth.
Yep.
Especially if I know I can.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to a certain point, and this is probably more negative than positive, if I get to a certain level of anger, there is no fear of anything. There is no fear. I don't care how big you are, how much bigger you are.
Yeah.
My mind starts formulating, you can take this guy down by doing X, Y, and Z, and it will probably work if he doesn't get to me first. Right. But where does that take you?
Yep.
I mean, I run a business, where if my clients realize that that's my reaction outside of work, they probably wouldn't do business with me.
You're right.
Why would they do business with somebody who...
And that's there's a short circuit in your brain that when it reaches a certain fight or flight mode, there is no cognitive reasoning.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There is just, okay, I need to protect myself. This has to happen.
Yeah.
I am going to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, the fight or flight. I don't know that we it's there. Is there for a reason. I don't know how much research there is, but you've talked about rewiring your nervous system to gain more control of yourself, your emotions, and therefore be more responsive at assessing the environment.
It's like, so imagine you went to a pool 3 times a day and you practice holding your breath underwater. After 6 months, you're going to have improvement, right? You're going to be able to hold your breath. To me, it's the same thing as fight or flight or calm focus. If you can literally practice watching your nervous system, put it into calm focus over and over again, see it go into fight or flight, put it back over here, over time, you're going to be more over on this side. So when these things pop up, your nervous system isn't so close to it that boom, short circuit, right? So the more you start to focus on that, whether it's through meditation, breath work, working out, jiu-jitsu, any type of fight training, or taking calm walks even, you're slowly getting your nervous system out of the sympathetic and more used to being in the parasympathetic, which is that calm focus. And so, I had to do this. I had to, because my nervous system was always fight or flight. It was just anything would just set me off.
When we're talking, what's the opposite of head trash? What fixes head trash? And you're talking about, changing your mindset. You as a mindset coach, what are some of those, if you can go back to the beginning when you were talking about rewiring your whole nervous system and became an expert at it, what were your starting points? What did you start with? Once you decided, okay, you got to a point where you decided or you realized, hey, this can be done. What were those first steps like? Because there's a lot of us out there that don't have that guidance. We don't have that compass that you have to find out on your own.
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember watching myself and realizing that it was not the man I wanted to be. I could never do that before. When I realized, right? So when I broke my spine and I realized, holy shit, my spine injury has nothing to do with anything about work, about working out, about anything outside of the world. It has to do with me. Okay, what do I need to do? I have to create self-awareness. I had to. You can't change what you can't see.
Right.
And so I immediately started to, and it sucked because everything was negative. I fucking suck. I can't do this. I fucking hate that person. This shit sucks. Why do I wake up in the morning? I want to drink 10 beers. It was nothing but trash.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it. So one, right? Self-awareness. Having the strength to sit in your own mind and not escape it. We're usually trying to escape our minds. Whether it's with TV, whether it's with driving, whether it's relationships, whether it's booze, drugs, whether it's success and money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
So we're trying to constantly escape it. Well, the first step is watching your mind. The second step that happened for me was seeing what inputs I was taking in. Now, inputs were people. Inputs were alcohol. Inputs were movies, music. Inputs were how I was speaking. I had to watch all of these things. So then I started reading books instead of watching violent shows. And I stopped listening to, I used to listen to some super anywhere from nasty rap to for real. I look back and I'm like, what the fuck? But then I would also listen to heavy metal, new age metal, popish, but tons of cursing.
Yeah.
So then I started reading books. I started to watch what I would say. Oh no, I can't do that because I'm fucking no good at that. Well, I just put a limitation out there for no reason.
Right.
I just gave myself a limitation.
Sure.
And then the TV and stuff, I stopped watching violent shows and started watching funny shows. So, right, first, creating that self-awareness. It's not the easiest part. That's, to me, the hardest part, is being okay with sitting in self-awareness and not running from it. Two, once you can do that, paying attention to all your inputs. Inputs create outputs. So if we want an external world that's calm, that's peaceful, where we're in control, and we can actually create life, we have to be able to focus on the things that are coming in. Those are hard. All I knew was drinking every day, getting off. When I worked on race cars, that's all we did. That was the whole fun part of it.
Yeah.
It didn't serve me anymore.
Right.
It literally didn't work for me anymore. And so starting with those two key things can change anyone's life.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
A lot of the things that you're describing were things that a lot of us deal with. Mm-hmm. A lot of us men deal with. And for you, unfortunately, it was a broken back. Mm-hmm. For me, it was, the threat that I was going to lose a very meaningful relationship to me. Mm-hmm. And back to that program that I took, that my wife, recommended, and I agreed to, I was battling with finding ways out to not share things and come clean with people in my life. And one of the ushers, so I was talking to him, I told him, listen, here are a couple of things that I'm struggling sharing. And they were difficult. And without hesitation, he pointed to a banner that they had. He goes, if you want to create the life that you want, and he pointed to that, you have to do this. You have to You have to do it for you, and you have to do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wins if you do that. As unpleasant as it may be, everybody wins.
Because in the end, the beauty of our lives as men is we are the problem and the solution. Most of us don't want to face that. We want to blame everyone else.
Yeah.
But it starts with us.
Yeah.
And we're that ripple effect are all around us.
I don't think I've ever sat down, or I don't recall sitting down unless, I've talked to you, where I'm sitting here listening to you and shaking my head yes. Because everything that you're saying, everything that you're putting out there for everybody to see is so true.
Mm.
It's so true.
We had a conversation in the beginning of our relationship where it's so funny. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you remember this. You're like, why do you not have a podcast? Now here we are.
I kind of remember
Full
that.
circle.
Yeah, I remember that. It was that, and what was the other thing? Group coaching.
Group coaching.
Yeah, the group coaching.
Too. Yeah. And I just started that.
Yeah. That was funny. Yeah, because we were sitting at your office in Severna Park. We were sitting there talking like this, and you might have even had a light.
Yep.
And it smells like a podcast to me.
Yes.
There is a couple of podcasts that I watch. I can't sit there and watch a 2-hour episode. Mm-hmm. It may take me a week to watch a full episode. Mm-hmm. What is the guy's name? But it's a Diary of a CEO on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And man, he's got some heavy hitter guests. And the last one I watched, it took me about 4 days to watch, but it was about communication. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the same things that we're talking about, how to stay composed and how to, some ways that you can address the fight or flight response. Instead of yelling to your kid, you're this, that, and the other, bleep, bleep, bleep. Mm-hmm. Talks about exactly what you just told me you did. Mm-hmm. You do at home. You take 10 seconds before you give a reply. Yep. And if after 10 seconds you don't have that reply, take another 10 seconds and take as many 10 seconds as you need. Yep. And sometimes it's okay to say, if you're in a conflict type of situation, communicating, whether it be a spouse or a family member, a coworker, wherever it may be, mm-hmm. It's okay to say, you know what, I think it's best that we table this conversation.
Yes, de-escalation. Yeah. De-escalation is so huge now in our society.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the things that I really try to practice and teach my clients. Yeah. Is understand that not everything needs a reaction.
Right.
Like we can pause on things so that we then can be calm.
Yeah.
And then when we're ready, well, we can create action, not reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it many times, especially in during election season when tempers are all over the place. It's a tug of war, mm-hmm. and if you're on this side, you're a horrible person. If you're on this side, you're a horrible person, and nobody talks to each other anymore. But talking about people's opinion and it makes sense to me if you know that there's a lot of judgments, a lot of negativity out there, and we understand that all those things stem from personal insecurities. You're projecting something, or you're trying to get away from something. It's just easier to blame others. Mm-hmm. I think if we can understand that, I think it makes it a lot easier for us to just let things just roll off your back, because they really have no meaning.
And they have nothing to do with you.
And they have nothing to do with you. It has all to do with them. Yep. And I had another buddy of mine who has a podcast, and he wrote a couple of books. And he talks about, somebody's going to have a different opinion than you. Mm-hmm. And in most cases, and probably 99% of the cases, it is not worth for you to engage. Mm-hmm. If you have an opinion of me, or if you have an opinion of something I have done I think he was talking in the context of the upcoming election. Somebody thinks that the person that I'm supporting is this, that, or the other. You know, it's okay. Okay, cool. Keep your opinion. That's fine.
Yep.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, I have this saying that I often have to bring into the forefront of mine. It's NIP, N-I-P. Nothing is personal. Literally nothing.
That's cool.
Nothing anybody says is personal. Right? You just, whenever I watch somebody and then I see their energy rise up in a negative manner, and I watch them approach me, and I start to see them literally putting their things onto me, I just go, well, check, nip, interesting. And then that's what I'll say. Well, in the WhatsApp group chat, somebody dropped a comment, and then somebody that's been in the circle for like a year or so, he used my saying, and I was so happy. It cracked me up so much because he just responded, that is interesting. I was like, hey, you don't do that. That's my line. And everybody started cracking up. I'm like, beautiful.
That's interesting.
Yep.
That took me, I mean, this last couple of things that we've shared took me to a movie, Patrick Swayze. What was that movie where he was a bartender or he worked for that bar? It's an 80s movie.
Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. Thank you, Roadhouse. Where one of the guys says, what if they call your mother a whore? He replied with, is she?
Yes! Seriously.
Like, okay.
How fun is that?
No explanation needed there.
Correct.
Right?
He didn't take that personal at all. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Is she? I love that. I love that. To me, that's actual communication.
Yeah.
You know, that's knowing that literally nothing anyone says should affect you.
I was probably 16, 17 when that movie came out. And it just came to mind. I was like, okay, yeah, that was a brilliant answer.
It was. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So I think before we close up, if you just want to share anything about what you're doing, because I know that you're doing great in your business. You have a lot of great clients. You're very good at what you do. So I just wanted to open the floor. You can share anything with anybody.
I appreciate that. Right now I'm in a place that I'm, talking about head trash. I want to take on some head trash. There is so much head trash. I'm going to be 53 this year. So that's possibly 50 years of head trash that I need to clean up. And one of those things is the rebranding of my business. And I feel that a platform like this, where this is going to be out there for anybody to see, it's a good place to hold myself accountable in declaring that I am going to move forward and rebrand my business. And you know the story, the backstory on that.
It's awesome.
My ultimate goal is to help people retire on their terms. For some people, the lavish lifestyle is going to be possible. For other people, it's going to be a moderate, and for other people, it's going to be something less than moderate. But we got to have a plan. We got to put some things in place now, and I am focused on helping people reach their full financial potential, whatever that may be. The statistics don't lie. About 2/3 of us here in the United States are either behind on retirement planning, or they're just simply not going to meet their goals. And that's almost 70% of the population, 2/3 of the population on a recent survey by JP Morgan and Social Security. So it's very reputable. And so my goal is to save as many people as I can and show them what is possible, because information is power. If you know you have X and this is your finite number, then I teach people, let's find a place where you can make that work.
Nice.
And so that's my goal. I just want to help people retire on their own terms and whatever, reach their full financial potential, whatever that may be.
And the thing I thoroughly enjoy about our relationship and about you is you genuinely care, and it shows through. You genuinely care not only about others, but you care about the clients. And it's not a lot of times people enter your business, it is just about the money, and it's never been that way with you. And so I really am grateful for
It's
you
never
for
about
that.
the money. I struggle with having clients who all they're good for is billing and fill my own pockets. And good luck to them at the end. I've always struggled with that. If you do the right thing for people, the money will be there.
I agree. And congratulations.
You have to do your own work too, though, financially.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of work, and I had to, probably at another podcast, we'll share more, but I had to come to face with that because I was not doing the right things, and I was telling people to do the right things. So I got to a point where I felt like I was being a fraud.
The mirror. It was a mirror for you. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you that you're moving forward because you
Thanks.
deserve it.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, man.
Appreciate
Good
you,
to see
man.
you, brother. Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.